Welcome to Being Real with Olivia. My name is Olivia Olinger and I love movies and shows. I just got done watching Moana 2 and it was okay. I mean, I have some conflicting things to say about it, so let's get started. Moana 2 is only 1 hour and 40 minutes and you can definitely feel that. I had some pretty high expectations going into this movie because Moana 1 is so amazing. I love Moana 1. The music, animation, plot, everything is just perfect. It's one of my favorite Disney movies. So I was really excited to see Moana 2 because I had high hopes, and since Moana 1 was so perfect, I mean, I didn't think that it was gonna be bad. And Moana 2 wasn't bad, it was just not what I was expecting. It moved very fast. I mean, they got up and going like right away. I felt like there was no reunion really between Moana or Maui. There wasn't any like emotional, sad scenes. Like in the first one, you go from being happy, excited, sad. I mean, you feel like everything. This movie was just more silly. It felt like it was based more towards younger audiences, like little kids. I mean, one of the bad or good guys was like a bat lady. And we didn't really get to see the villain in like a true form. He was just kind of like a face in the clouds. So I was a little disappointed with some of the stuff and like the characters they've chose. And Moana brought some like crew members with her on their journey and they weren't the greatest. I mean, they were funny, sure. And the point of them was they all had to learn how to work together in order to be a good team. Kind of like teaching that whole metaphorical thing, but it just didn't really do anything much for me. I still enjoyed it. The music was great. A lot of people didn't like the main Moana song that she sings, the Beyond or whatever, because How Far I'll Go from the first Moana was phenomenal. That song was beautiful and like it makes me tear up just listening to it. I really like the song Beyond. It was a really pretty song and it would have been more emotional if they used it in a better way. I mean, Moana 1 was filmed so great. She sang it and she saw her grandma like swim by as the manta ray. It was such a heartbreakingly beautiful scene. This movie, I can't explain it better than just saying it was aimed more for little kids. I mean, the story wasn't that complex. It wasn't very heartfelt. It was just very mid. I mean, it was still really funny. Like, Maui's always hilarious. Dwayne Johnson does a great job as playing him. He sang his own song in this movie too, like how he did in the first one, You're Welcome. And his song was good. But when he like reunited with Moana, everything just felt very fast. They, sang a song and then they got like right back in on the boat to go off to their destination and to what they were supposed to do. I'd say the plot was good. Basically just a quick overview was they needed to like reunite the people of all the other islands too, because in Moana 1 it was just her island. We didn't really get to see like anyone else except for like her and her people and then Te Fiti. So in this one it was really cool, like the storyline of having the other native people on all the other islands, so now they can travel back and forth to see each other, and we know that there's more out there. So it was a cool concept of like bringing everyone together. They just didn't really explain like why they had to. I mean, me and my dad and my brother, we were a little late to Moana 2. We missed like the first couple minutes. By the time we got there, we saw that Moana was like heading back to her island on her ship. And she was like, saying hi to her family and her baby sister. And then they like sang a song and danced or whatever. So we did miss the beginning. If maybe they said anything about like why they exactly needed to bring everyone together. Like why the islands would eventually die if they didn't. I mean, I guess we just have to assume because of like years of isolation, the people eventually like die off or something. I don't know. But otherwise, it was a cute concept because that way we got to see more out there. My girl Moana, though, looked stunning in this movie. I mean, it looked like she got a glow up or something because she looked different, but in a good way. She was, like, muscular and buffer. I'm like, oh, get it, girl. And Maui somehow got, like, quesoer. And Moana got a whole new outfit design, which is beautiful. I love her new outfit. So the characters at least look good. It was a funny movie. I will give it that. I mean, it felt like it was way funnier than the first one because it wasn't as, like, emotional. And the characters, some of them were just kind of dumb, so I definitely was laughing more. Versus in the first one, I was crying a lot. But, gosh, this movie just moves so fast. I mean, I don't know why it did compared to the first one. Maybe because, like, the first one, they were on the island a lot, so they had to build up the characters. And then, like, they just had more, like, scenery. They'd be on a boat in the ocean. They'd be in, like, the giant shiny crab monster things layer. They were on the different islands. It was just complex versus this one, it was just very fast and got like straight to the point and to the end. Even at the beginning of the movie, I mean, I can't say the way beginning because I missed that part, but like the parts I saw, it just like started right up. She said hi to her family, her community. She like had to do a ceremony thing, and then she just like left, and her mom was like, all right, yeah, nope, she's got to do this. She got a sign from the ancestors that she's got to go out and save us. I was like, oh, well, okay, that was fast. I don't know, this movie just didn't do much for me. I mean, I like watch Moana 1 like almost every month. Like, I love that movie. I watch it, like me and my brother watch it all the time. This one, when it comes out to streaming, I mean, I don't know if I'll even like care to see it again. It just felt so short, and they didn't really do much together. Like, I wanted to see more of like Moana and Maui working together. I wanted something big, dramatic, something like really emotional, but they didn't like give me any of that. I was a little disappointed with all that stuff. I mean, her grandma, like, obviously came back in her spirit form, like she did in the first one, but even when the grandma came back, it just felt so rushed. Like, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's Moana's grandma. I was just like, oh. Because they did it in such a weird way. They brought her back at like the beginning of the movie almost. And then again, like later during the movie, which if they would have like just like skipped out the whole grandma at the beginning of the movie and just kept her at the later part, I would have been like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I mean, I probably would have cried or had some sort of a reaction. But when they do it, like when they overdo it, it just gets kind of annoying because it's not as special then. I mean, her grandma's dead, but she's popping up all the time like she's still alive. I think like adding that to the list of why this movie felt so silly. The creators knew how much everybody loved how the grandma kind of came back in Moana 1 because that was like an emotional scene for all of us there too. So they were like, hey, let's bring the grandma back a lot so we can get more of a reaction out of people. And they kind of did some of the same shots like they did in the first movie with the chicken hey hey, the pig Pua, and then her little sister touching the wave like how Moana did. They clearly did that to have more ties to the first movie and recreate some of the scenes so then we could be like, oh my gosh, that was from Moana 1. But they overdid it a little. The songs that the characters sang in this movie were great. I mean, I loved the songs. They were more fun, peppy. They like got you kind of vibing along with the movie like, okay. But of course, nothing beats the originals. I mean, the first movie played the songs so well with like where they were at, what like they were kind of feeling. Like they really knew how to like line the music up with the video so we kind of really feel for the characters. I mean, this one they didn't have any of that. Like they had like the characters singing, but they didn't have any like soft music in the background when there were like high tensions or the characters were kind of like going through something. It was just very like rushed the whole time. I mean, even when they were fighting like the main villain, it just felt very fast paced too. I mean, at the beginning of the movie, they were like, this is gonna be the most dangerous journey ever. You're probably not gonna make it. But it almost felt like the first movie when they defeated Te Fiti that was harder than this movie's villain was. I don't know, it just wasn't what I was expecting. I mean, the little hope balloon in me just like deflated. It still was a great movie and I still do recommend watching it, especially if you have like little kids. But I definitely wouldn't go into it with like super high standards like I did. It was just a really childish movie compared to the first one where like it was for all ages because it was so emotional, it was so complex, the characters were amazing, music was phenomenal, the plot, storyline, I mean, the death of her grandma, like everything was just perfection. This movie was kind of a letdown and it felt like, gosh, I'm trying to think of a movie. There was a sequel to something that came out recently and it was a lot like this too, very childish, wasn't as great as the first one. I'm trying to think what it was. This is gonna bother me all night. I'm gonna randomly think of it at like 2 in the morning and be like, that's what it was. It wasn't Inside Out 2. Now, Inside Out 2 was way better than Moana 2. I will say that. I mean, I really liked Inside Out 2 because it did have that like effect that the first one did. Still was very emotional like it. Moana 2 was not emotional at all. Oh, I know. Despicable Me 4. It felt like Despicable Me 4. Okay. Only difference was Despicable Me 4 was trash all around. The only good thing that came out of that movie was like the who will Gru be tonight? That's the question. Yeah, that movie was awful. But Moana 2 just kind of felt like that with some of the, like, just very humorous. Like, it was, Despicable Me 4 was clearly made for children. I mean, come on, the bad guy was a giant roach dude. Like, what? The minions got, like, weird superpowers that they never did with them. I mean, that's what Moana 2 kind of felt like. It was just much better. Okay, I am not comparing them in the sense that Moana 2 was trash, because it was not trash. Moana 2 was still a beautiful, fun, funny movie. It just was not anything great compared to the first one. I mean, that's like Frozen 2, which I love Frozen 2 more than Frozen 1. Frozen 2 was better than Moana 2. And I prefer Moana 1 over Frozen 1, but Frozen 2 easily beats Moana 2. Moana and Maui were still great characters. They were still funny, had great singing abilities, entertaining. It just wasn't a masterpiece like the first movie was. There's this little boy screaming outside, going on his rollerblades. He's like, Mom, I don't even know what he's doing. I hate little kids. JK. Side note, some woman brought her, like, baby into Moana 2 and they had to leave right at the beginning because it started crying. Like, what were you expecting? I mean, why do people bring their babies anywhere anymore? Like, stop bringing your children 6 and under places. They cry, they throw temper tantrums. There's really no point. Like, you make the experience miserable for everyone else and yourself. Because then you gotta leave right away. I mean, the people just left right away, probably wasted a ton of money. And the kids aren't even gonna remember them. Like, what were you expecting? Bringing your baby to Moana 2, that the baby was gonna grow up and be like, I remember a time I was 0.5 years old and my parents brought me to Moana 2. That was my favorite experience in my whole life. I'm gonna end up drop kicking your child out of the building. Sorry, I'm still kind of salty about Moana 2. It was good. Just, you know, not great. Good, not great. Potato, not potato. I kind of almost wished it was a 2-hour movie just so that they could have some more scenes in it, some more emotional things that were in the movie. And I hate long movies. I mean, 1:40 is like the perfect movie for me if it doesn't feel so rushed and it's not like all over the place, if it has like, they follow it through the whole time. But I almost needed Moana 2 to be like a 2-hour movie so that they could like kind of build up more of the story, like why they needed to do all of this work. I mean, I wanted to see more Maui Moana. I wanted her to really have that like emotional connection and learned how to like connect with her crew, because she was kind of annoyed at them for being so dumb in the beginning. So then they just like, you know, all started learning to work together. I'd like to see more of like her interacting with everyone else. Although I did appreciate how the Kokomora came back. They are adorable. I love those tiny little things so much. I want a Kokomora. Those beautiful, adorable little assassins. I need them. But I just wanted more of like a character connection. The story was solid, plot was solid, music was solid, characters, character connection, character development, mid. Maui, Moana, mid. Random bat lady. She kind of carried, but like, we didn't get much of her. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Moana 2. Make sure to comment what you thought. If you kind of agree with me, if you had a different viewpoint, I'd love to hear it. And also, I know, I'm like days behind on my Arcane last episode review. I really need to get that out there. I just, you know, all these new movies kind of came out at the same time. Like, Arcane came out right when Wicked and Gladiator came out, and then the second I got Wicked and Gladiator posted, Moana 2 just came out, so yeah, kind of a lot of a hodgepodge of movies and shows, but I'll get it out, if you guys even care to see that. I mean, I personally have a lot to say and rant about that show, so I really gotta kind of vent about it somewhere. Make sure to like if you've enjoyed and subscribe, please. It would really help. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more reviews I have coming up. I mean, other than Arcane, I don't really know like what's like going on now. I'll try to find some new movies coming out, but like, I don't really know what's going on. But anywho, thanks for watching and I hope I see you around.